Hi, very good morning. I'm Dr. Janak Patel. Today I'll be talking on a very odd topic, but sometimes it can be very useful in your everyday practice. Usually we never pay attention to lead AVR. So today I'm going to talk about lead AVR. What is the importance of looking at lead AVR? Again, you will see only what you look for and what you will look for. You will look for what you know because you want to recognize that, and you will know what you understand. So you will remember only what you understand, and whatever you remember you will know, and that you will try to recognize by looking at the ECG. So we'll be going through a very odd topic we call as a AVR lead. Now if you consider an AVR lead, so whenever you see an AVR lead, look again and again. Sometimes you might pick up some of these abnormalities and you can come to the nearmost diagnosis. So AVR lead is quite frequently called forgotten lead because we never pay attention to AVR. It is also called as a neglected lead, or it is a lead which is called orphan lead because orphan person is never paid attention. So it is a term which says that lead AVR, what you don't know may kill your patient, because sometimes AVR is very important. So AVR is an augmented lead placed on the right arm. It is most commonly used to assure proper limb placement, and it is a common belief that rarely it gives an useful information. Hence it is also called as a forgotten 12th lead, but it is very important in good number of conditions. What is a standard rule? Standard rule is in AVR all wave are inverted, means they are all below isoelectric line. So P wave is inverted, QRS complex is inverted, and T wave is also inverted. This is there in AVR. Hence, we usually don't look at the AVR. So it is called orphan lead, neglected lead, or also called as a forgotten lead. So we'll be going through all those things. So usually we never see AVR, we look at all other 11 leads, but we don't look at that, and that is the forgotten lead. So all QRS complex you can see again here, P wave is inverted, QRS complex is inverted, T wave is inverted. So even in an infarct, we never pay attention to AVR. AVR is not included in any one of those localization of infarct area, but still it can give you some idea. You can see here also, here it is mentioned, when you look at the V1 and AVR together, you can identify right atrium disorders. So try to look at that. Even AVR alone can give you a good idea regarding many conditions. So V1 and AVR points towards the right side of the heart, that is right atrium. So it can give you a lot of idea regarding a right atrium. There are some clinical utility of AVR even if it is neglected. What are those utility? Axis determination, yes, sometimes it helps you to identify the axis. Even if you can't identify by lead 1 and AVF or lead 1 and lead 3, you can utilize AVR for axis determination in some of the conditions. Yes, it is very useful to identify certain acute coronary syndromes. We'll be showing you that particular in future slides. Even ischemic changes in TMT can be useful in diagnosis of acute pericarditis, acute pulmonary embolism, certain cardiac arrhythmia, particularly differentiation between SVT and VT, and other cardiac arrhythmias, tricyclic antidepressant poisoning, dextrocardia and lead reversal also it is very useful. tension pneumothorax, Takotsubo, conduction abnormalities, and even to differentiate SVT from VT. We'll be going through all this one by one. The most important part is this is a dangerous condition. So if you get an ST elevation in AVR, it indicates certain things. We have already discussed this during ST elevation, but I'm repeating again. If you get an ST elevation in AVR, which is more than 1 millimeter, it suggests proximal LAD or LMC occlusion. And if it is ST elevation in AVR is more than or equal to B1, it is again LMC occlusion. And absence of ST elevation in AVR excludes significant LMC occlusion. This is very, very important. So if you are diagnosing LMC occlusion and there is no ST elevation in AVR, think again. Nutan, તને કહ્યું આટલું તો ફરીથી મને કરાવડાવીશ તો આખું. So now utilization of AVR axis. Normally we always say that if QRS complex is negative in lead AVF and if it is positive in lead 1, it is a left axis deviation. If in lead 1 it is negative QRS complex and if it is positive in AVF, we call right axis deviation. While if both are negative, lead 1 and AVF both are negative, then we call that as an extreme right axis deviation or no man's land. This is a common thing which we utilize. But once in a while, if you look at this particular, this is a clear cut. Right axis deviation, lead 1 negative and AVF positive, while left axis deviation, lead 1 positive, AVF negative. 100% clear cut. But if you look in AVR and if you get this type of complexes, so if it is predominantly R wave, taller than S wave, it is right axis deviation. And if S wave is deeper in AVR, then it is plus 30-degree axis. So this helps you to some extent to calculate your axis. So if you get a tall R wave in AVR, it is more towards right axis deviation. And if it is more towards right axis deviation, you can suspect RVH, RBBB, dextrocardia. Now again, you can utilize one more thing. If it is a narrow QRS complex and there is a terminal R wave which is positive and taller, suspect RVH and dextrocardia. And if it is a broad QRS complex, then suspect RBBB. This is one clue which you can utilize in AVR lead. Now localization of what we call as an MI. AVR is useful for as far as localization of a right atrium. So if you look at the AVR in V1, it gives you an idea regarding a damage to right atrial infarct, and that is right circumflex artery. So AVR can be utilized for identifying a acute coronary syndrome involving right atrium. So usually it is not mentioned, but very few things will be mentioning regarding a AVR where ST segment is elevated. So if it is elevated in AVR, do keep it in mind. So AVR can have a reciprocal changes which is indicative of certain changes. It is a reciprocal changes of V6. So if you have got an ST elevation in V6, there will be corresponding ST depression in AVR. And opposite of that, if there is an ST depression in V6, there will be ST elevation in AVR. So it is just reciprocal of V6. This also helps you sometimes to identify a reciprocal change or acute MI. So ST depression in AVR is distal LAD and ST elevation in AVR is a proximal LAD or LMCA, and it is sometimes quite useful in a non-STEMI also. So this I have already discussed before. ST elevation in AVR, very useful. If you get an ST elevation in AVR with ST depression in multiple leads, it is in favor of an LMC occlusion. ST elevation in AVR more than ST elevation in V1, 100% LMC occlusion. And if there is an ST elevation in AVR alone with ST depression in multiple leads, then it is in favor of a proximal LAD, triple vessel disease or LMC occlusion. This clue is very, very important. So do look at an AVR. It is not a neglected lead, it is a very important lead. And if there is an ST depression in AVR, it is a distal LAD occlusion. So here you can see I have already shown this type of an ECG before. If you see in an AVR there is an ST elevation, and whenever you see an ST elevation, do suspect LMCA or LAD occlusion, proximal LAD occlusion. So ST elevation in lead 1, in AVR, AVL and V1, and ST depression in multiple leads. This is AVR, AVL and V1, and if AVR is more than V1, it is in favor of a LAD or LMC occlusion. Do keep it in mind. And there is an ST depression in lead 1, lead 2, lead 3, AVF. You can see in V3, V4, V5, V6. Even there is a slight ST in V2 also. All this suggests what we call as an LMC occlusion. So ST elevation in AVR with AVL, also ST elevation, LMC occlusion. ST elevation in AVR more than ST elevation in V1, again LMC occlusion. And if it is greater, ST elevation in AVR is greater, more than other, that is in V1, it is more likely to be LMCA occlusion, or we call stenosis. So ST elevation in AVR is very, very useful. So it is always considered LMCA, proximal LAD or triple vessel disease. And that is all these three conditions are bad because that will result into anterior wall infarct. And whenever there is an anterior wall infarct, it is more dangerous because it results into LV dysfunction. So AVR more than V1 and ST depression in many leads, lead 1, lead 2, lead 3, AVF, V2 to V6, it is LMC occlusion, many leads. You can see very clear, and here AVR is more than V1. So again it is in favor of a LMC occlusion or LAD or triple vessel. Keep that thing in mind. Again you can see here, this is elevated more than V1 and you have got an ST depression in lead 1, lead 2, AVF, then V3, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6, and you can see here even there is a tall T wave. You can see there is a marked tall T wave. So this should be considered as an acute infarct. And please look at the biomarkers, that is troponin and CPK-MB. Now you can see that same person ended up with a huge extensive anterior wall infarct right from V1 till V5. There is an extensive damage. So it can end up with an extensive anterior wall infarct and it can be very dangerous one. So do look at that. Here again you can see there is an ST segment elevation. After that changes in AVR. And whenever you get this, now there will be an ST depression in AVR. So ST elevation in AVR plus De Winter sign, that is ST elevation with ST depression with T wave top and upright in V2, V3. Here you can see it is in V3 and V4. Here there is an ST elevation. It is again in favor of an LAD occlusion, proximal LAD occlusion. You can see clearly. So if you have got an AVR with V1, V2 signs also, you should look for. Here you can again have a look. See that there is an ST depression. ST depression. And look at the PR segment. Look at the PR segment. PR segment is abnormal. Now if in AVR you get an ST depression, so ST depression in V5, ST elevation in AVR, it is again in favor of, means if you get a specific ST depression in V5 during TMT testing and there is an ST elevation in AVR, it will be suggestive of LMC occlusion because these are reciprocal changes. These are reciprocal changes. So whenever you get that, do have a look at it. So look at this V4, V5, V6. There is an ST depression, and if you get an ST elevation in AVR, it is in favor of an LMC occlusion. You can see here V1 there is ST elevation. This is again in favor of ischemic heart disease on TMT. So you can utilize sometime AVR for that. Now we go to how you diagnose pericarditis. Whenever you want to diagnose a pericarditis, particularly in an acute stage, you look at an AVR lead. You will have a ST J point elevation with concavity upward in ST segment in many leads. You can look here in lead 1, lead 2, even lead 3, V2, V3, V4, V5, even V6. So this is extensive. You got J point elevation with concavity upward. But if you look in AVR, now you can see if this, it is pulled upward. So PR segment is pulled upward and there is an ST depression. So whenever you get a PR segment changes upward, we call elevated or associated with ST depression, it is a finding in favor of pericarditis. So ST depression in AVR with PR elevation in AVR, it is pericarditis. Or we call ST elevation in AVR with PR depression in AVR, we call knuckle sign. That is ST and PR is discordant. So if this is discordant, this will be more in favor of an right atrial infarct. So in STEMI ST segment, PR are quadrant. So if you get this, it is in favor of STEMI. So you can utilize. If you get a diffuse global ST segment elevation or ST depression, PR segment depression in inferior leads, that is L2, L3 AVF, and PR segment elevation in AVR, it is in favor of acute pericarditis. So this is J point elevation with concavity, lead 2, lead 3, AVF, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6, extensive. And if you look here, this is PR segment elevation with ST segment depression in favor of what we call as pericarditis. Do utilize this criteria. So ST depression in AVR with PR elevation in favor of acute pericarditis. So acute pericarditis PR segment is up by almost 5 millimeter. In AVR, it is in favor. Or if it is also one of the differential diagnoses for what we call as an atrial infarct. Atrial infarct. Sometimes it can be pseudo depression in atrial flutter, but we don't utilize that particular. So in atrial infarct, PR is elevated in inferior leads and PR is depressed in AVR. So if you get a depression in AVR and there is an ST segment elevation, it will be in favor. So here you can see it is elevated, depressed. Now this is an inferior lead changes and you can see this ST segment depression. in V2, V3, and here in V5, V6 there is an ST segment elevation. So in V5, V6 you can have opposite lid changes, we call AVR. There will be ST, here there is, it is elevated, here it will be depressed. If here it is ST depression, you will have an AVR ST elevation. So if you get that, it is a reciprocal change of lateral lids, we call V5, V6. So ST depression in AVR and PR elevation in AVR, it is again in favor of a STEMI. Do look at that STEMI. If there is associated L2, L3 AVF elevation in inferior wall infarct. So these are some of the odd clues which you can utilize apart from other classical clues of STEMI. In acute pulmonary embolism, we have already told you S1, Q3, T3 pattern. That is, you got a deep S wave in lead 1, you got a Q and 3 wave, Q in lead 3 and T wave inversion in 3. So that will produce what we call as a classical pattern of acute pulmonary embolism. And because of an acute RV overload, it is sometimes manifested as ST elevation in AVR with terminal R wave. We might see some of the ECG. So elevation in AVR is in favor. Now if you see here, there is a slight ST elevation and there is a terminal R wave. This is along with S1, Q3, T3 pattern. If you get R wave with ST elevation and T wave inversion, it is in favor of pulmonary embolism. Sometimes even you get an incomplete right bundle branch block pattern. That is also in favor of acute pulmonary embolism. So this is one another clue for differentiating acute pulmonary embolism. Now AVR in diagnosis of lead arrhythmias. Normally AVR lead will have a P wave inverted. But if you get P wave inverted in AVR, it is normal. But it can be there because normally it has to be upright. So in a right atrial tachycardia, if you get a P wave inverted in an AVR, it is suggestive of that the focus is coming from the right atrium. So when the focus is coming from the right atrium, you will have a P wave inverted, maintained in AVR. And there is an ST elevation in AVR. It will indicate re-entrant AV tachycardia. So this is another very important clue. So if you got a P wave inverted with ST elevation in AVR, it will be, and there is a tachycardia. It may be in a case of a re-entrant AV tachycardia. If P wave is upright in AVR and there is a tachycardia, it is in favor of a left atrial ectopic focus tachycardia. So if there is a focus in the left atrium, it will produce tachycardia and that will produce upright P wave in AVR. So ST elevation in AVR with narrow complex tachycardia is likely to be WPW syndrome. Very, very important. Confirm delta wave after post conversion. So if you see a delta wave after post conversion, it is 100% in favor of WPW, what we call the Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. And if there is an ST elevation or ST depression in SVT, they are not due to ischemia. So ST elevation or ST depression in SVT may be non-ischemic. So this is a difference between supraventricular tachycardia, pre-excitation and left atrial tachycardia. I have already given you before, but you can go again through this slide. There is another AVR algorithm which you can utilize, that if there is a presence of initial R wave, is there any presence of initial R wave in AVR? If answer is no, it is in favor of SVT. If answer is yes, in favor of VT. Presence of an initial R or Q wave more than one small square. If answer is no, it will be in favor of SVT. If answer is yes, means it is broad. So Q wave is broad or R wave is broad. It is in favor of VT. If there is a notch on the descending limb, then we also call that as a Josephson sign. So that will be in favor of what we call as a VT. And if it is not there, it is a sharp down, then it is in favor of SVT. All this you can utilize. There is one more step we call as step 4, where V1 divided by V2 is less than 1. If answer is no, it is SVT. If answer is yes, it is in favor of VT diagnosis. Now you can see here in what will happen in an SVT. So what criteria we have given here? You can have a look here. In AVR, there is a QS. There is no initial R wave. So as there is no initial R wave, straightforward it is in favor of SVT. And if you see this Q wave, there is no widening. Again, if you go through that, there is no widening and there is no notch. There is no notch. So all this favors SVT rather than VT. So that is one very important criteria. And if you look in V1 to V6, here this is negative, this is biphasic. You can see a positive wave, negative wave, and then this has become more positive. So this is this quadrant, and whenever you see this quadrant in chase slits, straightforward it is in favor of SVT. While all will be concordant in case of NVT. We'll be going through when we do a chapter on difference between SVT and VT. Now again you can have a look here that here there is no R wave, there is a deep S wave, and this is having no notch and it is not widened. So this is again in favor of SVT. So narrow complex tachycardia, maybe SVT or AVRT. That difference will do. ST elevation in AVR is more in favor of AVRT. All those we'll be doing when we do supraventricular tachycardia. Again you can see here ST segment elevation, and there is tachycardia, narrow complex, it is not wide. Again this is SVT, and because there is an ST segment elevation, you can utilize this as AVRT, that is atrioventricular re-entry tachycardia. It is not AV node, and this is because of accessory bundle of Kent in case of WPW syndrome. Again you can see here there is a broad QRS complex. You can see these are broad QRS complex. This is this quadrant, right? And in AVR you can see that this is broad, but there is no notch, and it is not that broad. It is not more than 0.12 second. So this is in favor of SVT with aberrancy. So ST elevation in AVR, AVRT with aberrancy, or we call it a wide QRS complex tachycardia. Ventricular tachycardia will be discussing separately, but one more thing. Whenever you see a dissociated negative wave, that is P wave, and there is a tall R wave in AVR, it is in favor of a ventricular tachycardia. This is one criteria. I'll skip over this. This will be discussing when we discuss VT from SVT by looking at a lead AVR. So in AVR you get a peculiar presentation, and that will be showing you this. We call small q and RS pattern. It will be in favor of a wide complex tachycardia, wide QRS tachycardia, and it will be SVT with aberrancy. But if you see this wide and see from here, this is what we call as Brugada sign. We'll be discussing that. And there is a notch here. This is called Josephson sign. When you see that notch on QS, it is in favor of VT. I'll be skipping over this. So tall R wave in AVR with AV dissociation in favor of VT. Now in tricyclic antidepressant poisoning. So whenever a person is on a tricyclic antidepressant poisoning, in ECG you will see sinus tachycardia, you will see QT prolongation, and if you calculate QTC, it is also prolonged. Terminal R wave in AVR, and it is more than 3 millimeter. It is tricyclic antidepressant poisoning, and so terminal R wave you can utilize as tricyclic antidepressant poisoning. You can see here, this is terminal R wave and sinus tachycardia with QT prolongation. If you calculate the QT, QT is prolonged. So that will be in favor of a tricyclic antidepressant poisoning, this terminal R. If terminal R wave is like this, it is in favor. Also, whenever there is a terminal R, look for RVH, look for RBBB, and also if there is a tall R wave, look for dextrocardia. So it is called terminal tricyclic antidepressant poisoning. There are few signs: shock, altered mental status, long QRS, and QT prolongation, and terminal RBB in AVR. If you get SALT positive, that is this SALT positive, it is in favor of tricyclic antidepressant, and the method of treatment is soda bicarb. So you will have to give soda bicarb IV. So in other way, if you get dominant R wave in V1, it is in favor of RBBB, RVH, posterior MI, WPW, dextrocardia, Duchenne myopathy. But if you get along with AVR, RBBB, RVH, dextrocardia, and also keep it in mind, you can have tricyclic antidepressant poisoning. So these are all the different leads which shows you R wave prominent. You can see here R wave is prominent, RBBB. This is in V1. This is, you can see in WPW, Brugada sign, RV dysplasia, that is epsilon wave, long QT interval, short QT interval, hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy, and multiple lead fragmented QRS complex in VTVA. These are all the conditions where you can, otherwise normal V1 is a small R with a deep S wave. So these are all the different patterns which can be there in a V1, and you can correlate that with AVR. And this is right ventricular hypertrophy criteria, where you don't utilize AVR, but you utilize V1 and V6. But if along with this, if you have got a tall R wave in AVR, it is again in favor of RVH and narrow QRS complex. So RVH criteria, mainly we utilize V1 and V6. We don't utilize AVR. In RBBB, again, we utilize V1 and V6. So in a RBBB, in V1, you get a RS RDS pattern. Second R is taller than first R. And in V6, you have got a deep S wave, deep and broad S wave, that is in favor of what we call as a RBBB. And you may or may not have a right axis deviation. So that is RBBB. You can see again here, RS RDS pattern and deep S wave in V6, wide and deep S wave. Now there is another thing which can be helpful is dextrocardia. In dextrocardia, if you have got major axis point towards the right side, means AVR is positive. In AVR, QRS complex is positive. It will be one of the conditions in case of a dextrocardia. But there is another condition where we create a dextrocardia by dextroversion, means there is a shift of mediastinum towards right side. So whenever there is a shift of mediastinum towards right side, in AVR, you will have a negative P wave, negative QRS complex, and there will be non-progression of a R wave to V1 to V6 because the entire mediastinum is shifted to right side, and this is called dextroversion. So you can have a non-progression of a R wave in dextrocardia and dextroversion, but important part is AVR. In dextrocardia, in AVR, you will have a positive QRS complex, while in case of a dextroversion, AVR will still remain negative. Means in AVR, all complex will be still remaining negative, and there will be non-progression of a R wave. So if you combine these two criteria, you can differentiate dextrocardia from dextroversion. Now you can see here R wave is positive, and look in V1. V3 to V6, R wave voltage is decreasing. You can see that R wave is becoming less. So this is AVR. Now if you look in lead 1, this is negative. All complexes are negative. And look in AVL also, all complexes are negative. Such things can happen because what has happened is the lead reversal has taken place, or it is dextrocardia. Now, if it is a lead reversal, only in limb leads you will get this criteria, but from V1 to V6 you will have R wave progression, and in V5 V6 you will have a tall R wave. So whenever you get right axis deviation, you can see this is a right axis deviation, lead 1 upon lead 3, right axis deviation. AVR is tall R wave with narrow QRS complex, and there is a non-progression of a R wave from V1 to V6 considered dextrocardia. But if there is a progression, then it will be lead reversal. We'll show you in another ECG. So this is AVR. You can look in lead 1 in AVR and look in V6. This is characteristic of dextrocardia. And now in this person, if you take V3R, V4R, V5R, V6R, you will have a gradual R wave progression. So you can look here, these are negative. Here it is positive, right? And if you see here, V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6. R wave voltage is increasing. So these are right side lead. You can see R is written before V1. These are all right side lead. So V2 becomes RV1, V1 becomes RV2, then this is RV3, V4R, V5R, V6R. So whenever you get such and you have got lead 1 negative, AVR positive, it is dextrocardia. This is right axis deviation, AVR narrow QRS complex, tall R wave, and there is a gradual increase in the R wave from V1 to V6, and you have got a tall R wave in V3R, V4R, V5R, V6R, it is dextrocardia. Now you see here, now if you look here, the voltage is decreasing. So as voltage is decreasing, this is V1, V2, V6, and there is a negative wave in lead 1 and there is a positive wave in AVR. It is in favor of dextrocardia. Now, negative P wave and QRS complex in lead 1 and AVL, and there is a reversal R wave progression. You must differentiate from lead reversal. I'll show you a now lead reversal. Now this is a dextrocardia. In X-ray also you can see that this is left side, this is right side. So apex is towards the right side, and even you can see this gastric bubble. So that is on right side. So this is dextrocardia with situs inversus. So when you create a technical dextrocardia, means right arm and left arm leads are reversed. AVR will show positive and there will be normal R wave progression. So I'll show you that particular thing. Now if you look in this is normal, lead 1 AVR. Lead 1 is positive, AVR is negative. Now if you look here, lead 1 AVR is positive, lead 1 and AVL is negative. And when you reverse back the lead, again they have become opposite. Lead 1 and AVR has become positive and AVR has become negative. So this is lead reversal. But unless you see chase leads, I'll show you in chase leads now. Now look here, in AVR it is negative, AVL it is negative, AVR it is positive. So either it is a lead reversal or dextrocardia. Now here if you see, there is a deep S wave and there is a tall R wave in V5, V6. So this is normal R wave progression. So if there is a normal R wave progression, AVR should be negative, lead 1 should be positive. So if it is opposite, the person by mistake, right arm is attached to left arm is attached to right arm. Do keep it in mind. This is a lead reversal, or we call technical dextrocardia. So again you can see here, this is gradual increase, this is lead reversal, we call technical dextrocardia, or you call pseudodextrocardia. You can use that word. Technical dextrocardia. Again, lead reversal, reverse back, lead 1 is positive, AVL is positive, AVR is inverted. So this you should be able to differentiate. Now if there is a short PR interval and you look at the other leads, so it helps you to differentiate WPW syndrome, and there is a delta wave. So it will help you to identify a WPW syndrome, short PR with delta wave on a ascending limb of QRS complex. Clear? As well as if you see this in V1, ST elevation with chord ST segment elevation with T wave inversion in V1, V2 or sometime V1, V2, V3. This is type 1 Brugada syndrome. And if you see a saddle shape, elevation and depression in ST segment, then you call that as type 2. Here you can see a downsloping. Now simultaneously if you see here in AVR, so along with V1, V2, if you see these changes, you can utilize that Brugada syndrome. And when you see on a ST segment upslope and there is a small wave like this is epsilon wave. This is in ARVD, arrhythmogenic right ventricular dysplasia, or we call cardiomyopathy. ARVC or ARVD. Usually now this word is commonly utilized. Arrhythmogenic right ventricular dysplasia. Okay, clear. You can see this epsilon wave. Now in acute pulmonary embolism, I have already discussed before, I have shown you before. You get a S1Q3 T3 pattern, and along with that, if you get a terminal R wave and T wave inversion, it will be in favor of pulmonary embolism, acute pulmonary embolism. And it can happen also in case of a tension pneumothorax. Now this is an ECG which shows you Takotsubo. Resolution, I'll skip over this, I've already discussed before in ST segment changes that if you get a sharp T wave inversion in multiple leads, it can be in a case of a Takotsubo. So do look at that particular thing. This is conduction abnormality. I've discussed this particular part in conduction blocks, that is LAHB, LPHB. So it is very useful to differentiate LAHB and LPHB. So if you come across AVR which shows initial R wave in inferior wall MI, so AVR will show initial R wave in inferior wall MI, and AVR will show terminal R wave in left anterior hemiblock. This particular difference may be very helpful to differentiate between LAHB and suspected inferior wall MI. So if you get AVR showing you initial R wave, it is in favor of an inferior wall MI, and if AVR is showing you a terminal R wave, it is in favor of a left anterior hemiblock. You can utilize that. Now you can see here AVR that there is a small Q wave and there is a R wave with T wave inversion, and you got RS pattern in lead 2, lead 3, and you got a left axis deviation. This will be in favor of a LAHB. Clear? LAHB, left anterior hemiblock. Now in left ventricular aneurysm, sometimes AVR may be helpful. So if you get a tall R wave in AVR, may suggest left ventricular aneurysm. So AVR having a tall R wave, and in case of an acute ST segment elevation, usually it will show negative. So that will be in favor of to rule out left ventricular aneurysm from acute STEMI. So if you get this, so patient with an anterior wall MI will have a persistent ST segment elevation in lead and tall R wave in AVR suggestive of ventricular aneurysm. So if a person who already had an anterior wall MI and has got an ST segment elevation with T wave inversion in and there is a tall R wave in AVR, it will suggest ventricular aneurysm. So if you got a persistent R wave and there is an ST segment elevation with T wave inversion, it is ventricular aneurysm, LV aneurysm. Again, you can see here ST segment elevation with T wave inversion. Even after many months, it is LV aneurysm. In hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, you can see here there is a tall R wave with ST segment inversion, ST segment depression with T wave inversion. Lead 1, AVL, V5, V6, and good number of time you will have a Q wave in V5, V6, that is hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy. Now in this HOCM, you can see then ST segment elevation. I'll show you a previous one also. That is suggestive of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. You can see this. Now we come to hyperkalemia. In hyperkalemia, we have already shown you that usually you will have a tall T wave, narrow base of that tall T wave, symmetrical, taller than R wave, and peak in favor of hyperkalemia. Along with that, if you get a changes in AVR, it will be helpful to identify what we call as hyperkalemia. Also, you will have to differentiate benign early repolarization from hyperkalemia and other conditions. Now, here I end my lecture. You try to go through again. AVR segment may be very, very helpful in some of the conditions.